Hello, I'm John Morgan, and I am really excited and proud to be able to introduce to you 2020's all-new version, V10. 2020 Technologies is celebrating our 25th anniversary this year, and that's 25 years of leading the kitchen and bath industry in computer-aided design and computer-aided selling. 2020 design has been specifically created and developed based on the needs of you, the kitchen and bath design professional. One of the things I think you'll really like about the all-new 2020 is it allows you to expand your universe and look for new revenue streams in the home, as you're now going to be able to work throughout the home, not just in the kitchens and baths. Matter of fact, I'll venture to say that you're going to love the all-new 2020 V10. Today we'll be looking at many of the new features in 2020's V10. We'll be looking at features such as the brand new user interface. We'll be taking a look at modifying walls, being able to draw on the fly or even create cathedral ceilings. We'll also investigate how to import 3D shapes from places like Google 3D Warehouse and even AutoCAD. And once you've imported those features, you probably want to save them and leverage and use them in future designs. Well, in the 2020 version 10, you can actually save and create your own libraries for future use. And of course, what you're all really interested in seeing are those brand new renderings. Let's start off by taking a look at those renderings. You're looking for a striking, an exquisite, a stunning rendering to help close sales, to help convince your customer to buy this project from you. The first image we're taking a look at, I want you to notice a couple of small items around the room. Look at the reflective properties in the countertop. Look at the miscellaneous items, the corkscrew on top, or you look at the fork sitting on top of the mat. Or go across the room and see how sunlight is coming through the window across the room and actually reflecting across the tiles on the right-hand side and showing all the accessories there. It's the little things that make the drawings real. The wine bottle ends up being a focus for me. If I'm your client and I'm looking at this room, I'm going to be drawn to not only what a gorgeous room it is, but heck, you're showing me a wine bottle that I can actually look through. It looks like there's really wine in that bottle. Those are the items that you're going to be able to add in your 2020 V10. The next drawing, one of my favorite things about the next drawing in 2020 is actually the small area right here in the center. You'll see that the sunlight's coming through the room. Notice how it highlights the wood graining on the drawers and then shows the bars across the front of the shelves. Pretty impressive, extremely realistic. This is one of my favorite drawings too for a couple of quick features. Number one, it's showing an inset door. If you've had any experience with computer-aided design before, you know how difficult it is to show an inset door. Well, 2020 certainly shows traditional overlay, full overlay, and even inset door cabinetry as a standard that's built in automatically. You can even determine the type of hinging, whether it's a concealed hinge, or in this case, you'll notice it's a wraparound hinge. Now, this is a drawing provided to me by my friend Christina, and I actually like to use it in my presentations for this feature right here. You'll see me circling it. It's actually a cork board. She's used cork to make a backing on the wall, kind of a backsplash here in this bar area or work area. That's a feature or an image that she's gone out online, liked the feature, liked the image, and actually imported it right into 2020 and overlaid it on her project. You can do that to create the realism that you need to close your project sales. Here's another drawing. Everybody in the kitchen and bath industry today knows how popular white paints are, or paints in general, but paints being mixed with a dark stain on a natural wood grain. Now, what really draws my eyes to this is not just the fact that we're using the most popular colors, popular finishes in today's environment, but what really draws me to the realism of this image, of this rendering, is down here below the island. Look at the basket and look at the bottles. Look how realistic that is. Look at the pots and pans over on the right-hand side. It's the little hooks that draw me in and make me connect to the project that you're creating, that give you the advantage to be able to sell it to me over whomever you're competing with. Here's a great contemporary rendering. You'll notice, again, sunlight coming through the window, but the part that I like to point out is the countertop. Look at that beautiful countertop. Again, that's just a standard shape that was created in 2020, and the proper texture was aligned to it, again, creating the photorealism. Now let's move on to what we need to do. What's the process in actually creating these images? The first big change that you're going to notice in your 2020 V10 is that we're now using the most up-to-date interface, including the Windows ribbon system. First thing you're going to notice, look how big the workspace is. This is perfect when you're working on those larger kitchens, those larger rooms, or even when you're working with multiple rooms at the same time. You also see at the top of the screen that you have your brand new ribbon interface. You can click on the headers and it opens up the functions below each. So if I were to choose something such as room layout, you would see that this is where we would take our walls, this is where we would choose doors and windows, and so on. One of my favorite features when it comes to the ribbons themselves is how big the icons actually are. You'll see right now that we have an openings and obstacles icon. If I put my cursor on top of it, right below it, it gives me a little detailed description of exactly what it does. This is great for anybody who's learning 2020 from scratch. You'll also see at the very bottom of this is where the quick access toolbar is. You'll see favorite features here like save and undo and redo. These are features that you're going to use the entire time you're working, no matter where you are in the process. These are features that you want to have access to. By setting them up in the quick access toolbar, you have one-click access to each. Now, if I wanted to go in and make some quick changes, again, you have full ability to customize this screen to your liking. So if I wanted to, let's say, minimize the bar at the top, I can go up here and say minimize the ribbon section. And the benefit to doing that is I've now created an even larger workspace. But when I want to use one of the features, all I have to do is go up and click on, in this case, items. It temporarily opens up my access to my ribbon. And then when I click back on the floor plan again, it eliminates it, again, allowing me to work with the largest plan possible. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Let's return that back to its original setting. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the quick access toolbar here, which is right here. If I wanted to add more features here, all I have to do is go into customize the quick access toolbar, and all of the features that you find under the ribbons are actually listed here on the left-hand side. So if I wanted to click on this arrow and I wanted to go down and choose, let's say, presentation, and there's an option here called send to live order, which is one of my favorite features, or send to room viewer. This is a feature that I use to be able to engage clients in real time, no matter what the distance is between us. If this is a feature I use often, I can always click on it, click add, I can click OK, and if you look right here, the option's now in my quick access toolbar. A couple of other features that you'd be interested in on the screen. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll find the traditional boxes from 2020. You'll find the information box, the placement and edit box. You also find the drag and drop menu for placing your items. If you wish to customize your screen, very simple in version 10. All you do is you hold your left button down on the top one of the boxes and you can move it anywhere you want and let it set there. This gives you the ability to customize the screen to be the most effective and efficient based on your tastes and needs. As you move these around, you'll see that there are arrows that appear on the screen. The arrows will give you previews of where the box is about to be placed. Right now, my cursor is on top of the arrow that points to the right, and if you look all the way on the right-hand side of my screen, see all the way on the right, it's blue. That's where that box is going to go. If I moved it on the down arrow, it shows you the bottom of the screen. If I go to the top arrow, it shows you the top. If I move around the screen, let's say we go back to where it was before, I can actually mix it up in the order that you see on the left-hand side. So I could go up here, let it go on the top, and it's back to where it was to begin with. So you can simply hold your left button down, move those boxes around anywhere you want, and these boxes will snap in exactly where you want them to be. Now, a couple of other features that you're absolutely going to love because they're going to make you much more effective and much more efficient in your actual design process. First one is editing. One of the features that you're going to find extremely useful in the actual design process is the quick edit feature. If you double-clicked on an item such as a wall, it'll take you right into the edit menu, and in this case, it'll take you right to the wall properties. Here you'll find a list of the walls, you'll be able to change length, height, and thickness, even be able to change the textures and details of the wall itself. If I wanted to change the floor plan, all I would do is double-click on the floor plan. Again, it takes me right to the settings for the floor plan. If you wanted to change your cabinet, all you would do is double click on the cabinet. This allows you to go in and edit items such as the width of the cabinet, the height of the cabinet, even changing the cabinet texture, or if you wanted to modify the cabinet, add a working door to the end, finish interiors, you want to do a cutout for a chimney chute or a pipe chase in the back, you would do all of that from the tabs listed here. Again, you have quick access simply by double clicking on the cabinet. It opens right up to it. If I wanted to place another item and use the new feature called Attributes Light, which is found on the right-hand side over here, you'll notice that we have a cabinet, a wall 3630. When I move my cursor over Attributes Light, it takes me directly to the depth, the height, and the width, so I can instantly go in and change those items, including finish sides, without ever having to go into the edit menu itself. Again, Attributes Light is going to be located on the right-hand side of your screen. That was a quick overview of a lot of the great features that are going to make your design process faster and easier than ever. Let's switch back to the PowerPoint and see some of the other brand new features in the all-new 2020 design version 10. Next up, walls and ceilings. In your new 2020, you have capabilities when it comes to your walls and ceilings. As a matter of fact, I call this walls and ceilings at your command, because you have the opportunity to literally just point and type in dimensions as you draw. And if you look at my next slide, you now have the ability in 2020 version 10 to create cathedral ceilings. Let's do this live. We're going to switch back to our 2020, but let's start a brand new plan. I'm going to go to New. And when I click on New, I'm going to get a fresh piece of paper, and this is where we're going to draw our plan. So if I take my cursor and just click in the lower left-hand corner and point, you'll notice that my wall follows me. In version 10, you simply move your mouse the direction that you want, and the walls follow you. So if I want the first wall to move up, I can simply point up and type in my dimension, 108 inches. Hit Enter. If I want my next wall to actually go up as well, I want it to stay on the same line, I'm going to type in 108 and enter again. Next wall, I want to move to the right, 256 inches. Next wall, I'm going to move down. I'm going to say 108. I'm actually going to mimic the opposite side, 108 again. And then I'm going to start adding some angles. Let me shift my screen just a little bit to get a little more room to draw. I'm going to place an angle, and I'm going to make this 42 inches wide or 42 inches long. Type in 42 inches. And you notice that I'm determining the angle simply by pointing. And then I can close the room by moving my cursor all the way to the first wall, and I left click. Snapped it together. There's my wall. Now again, what I did with the mouse was I pointed. I said I wanted to go right. I wanted to go left. I want to move up. I want to move down. I want to move on an angle. You can always type in the exact angle that you want, but typically you're working at 45-degree angles within the kitchen, so that'll allow you to take care of the majority of your walls without ever having to touch the keyboard when it comes to angles. Once you point the direction, all you have to do on the keyboard then is let go of the mouse, type in the length, hit Enter, takes you directly to the next wall. You can draw walls in a snap now. The next feature I want to talk about, though, is how do you adjust the heights of the walls. This has changed significantly in version 10. If you double-clicked on a wall, it'll open up the Wall Properties feature. When we go into the Wall Properties dialog, you'll notice that it lists all the walls, but walls 1 and wall 3 are actually divided into two sections. If you remember when I started drawing, I drew a 108-inch wall up, and then I rotated another wall to be on the same line and made it 108 inches as well. Well, this gives me the ability to pick starting and ending heights for these individual walls. And if you look right here in the middle of the dimensions area where it says height, I have at the beginning 96. If I turned off the check mark, that gives me the ability to make the end height different than the beginning. I'll tell it 144. We'll click Apply. I'll go to wall number 2. This time I'm going to turn off the check mark, but if you think about it, if I move this over to the right-hand side just a little bit, you'll notice that right here at the center, this wall starts here. Well, the last wall ended at 144, so I need to start this wall at 144 and have it end at 96. So I'm going to say at the beginning, 144. We'll go down here and click Apply to save it. Now let's jump over to the right-hand wall. We'll do the same thing. We'll go to section number 1. We're going to start at 96. We're going to turn off the height. We're going to type in 144, hit Apply, and for section number 2, I'm going to do just like I did for the last wall. I'm going to start at 144, I'm going to end at 96, and hit Apply again. Now, before I move past the screen, I want to mention one other new feature in the Walls Properties area. Under the Type tab, you'll see at the very bottom it reads ceiling. It says depend on the height, connect to the ceiling, don't connect to the ceiling. You now have the choice of telling 2020 whether or not you want a wall to actually connect to a ceiling. So right now when it says depend on the height, that means that the taller walls are going to connect to the ceiling, but if I make a knee wall, it won't connect automatically. But I can individually go around that room and connect each wall to the ceiling or not connect it. My choice. A great opportunity to do this is, let's say you're remodeling a condo unit, maybe it's a warehouse you've turned into condos, and you're going to have very tall ceilings, but you're going to place rooms and use room dividers, and those room dividers are only going to be 8 feet tall. Maybe they're 10 feet tall, but they don't necessarily go all the way to the ceiling in that loft. Well, you can actually go through and have the exterior walls connect to the ceiling, but the walls that you use on the interior, you can actually tell them not to connect to the ceiling, creating the right environment and visual that you need for that client. Now I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And to give you an example of what we just did, I'm going to go to the quick access toolbar. I'm going to left click on perspective, and you'll see right now, here's a perspective of my room. You'll see that it has cathedral ceilings. I'm holding the left button down to rotate. One of the cool things I like when it comes to the live renderings today is if you look down into the room, there's no ceiling, but you see a floor. If you look from the bottom up through the floor to the ceiling, there's actually a ceiling and no floor. It actually looks right through those items. So there's your room, and you see that you have a cathedral ceiling. If you wanted to see this in a, let's say, an elevation mode, all you have to do is double click on the wall. I can grab hold of the elevation line. I can drag this down, and you'll now see that that wall has a cathedral ceiling elevation as well. That's a great new feature when it comes to version 10 of 2020. Let's go back over to our PowerPoint now, and let's move on to our next subject. Our next item is going to be the Google 3D Shape Warehouse and AutoCAD 3D Shape imports. Now, one of the interesting things that you're going to find in 2020, and I actually started the conversation off in the very beginning talking about 2020 is geared to kitchen and bath designers, kitchen and bath professionals, but all of you are looking to other rooms in a home where you can design, move projects, additional, avenues, additional pathways for revenue and so forth. Well, 2020 recognizes that. So what we've done is in the new version 10, we've given you the ability to import 3D shapes now from global warehouses. If you wanted to access shapes from the Google 3D warehouse, or you want to access them from AutoCAD, there's 2 different ways to do that. The first way is to go to the top of your screen. You're going to go up to Items, and there's a button all the way on the left-hand side called Google Sketchup. This will take you directly into the web page for the Google 3D warehouse. And you'll see all sorts of options, from 3D building collections to feature collections to popular models. If you've never been to the Google 3D warehouse before, you're going to be blown away by the options that you have. If you wanted to type in something like, let's say, espresso machine, you'll find that somewhere in the world somebody has created a 3D image of an espresso machine. And what you're really going to love about this is you can grab hold of that shape that they created. I don't care if it was created, here in North America, it was created in Europe, it was created in South America, or wherever. You can actually grab that shape from the 3D warehouse, pull it into your 2020 drawing, and it becomes a true 2020 shape. You'll see a list of espresso machines. I could have typed in something like people. There's actually people in the world who create 3D people that we can add to the 2020 drawings. Let's do something a little bit simpler, though. Let's go ahead and we're going to choose chair. I'm going to type in kitchen chair. And when I typed in kitchen chair, you'll see a list of kitchen chairs. Now, when you look down at the bottom, you'll see results of the page, and you'll notice that there's page after page of kitchen chairs available. So if I wanted to go to this particular chair, which is kitchen chair with arms, I can click on it. It gives me a preview of it. I can simply click the download model right here. And when I go to download it into 2020, you can actually download from the Google Warehouse up to version 7. So just keep that in mind. But you can take any of these 3D shapes, load them right into the 2020. Now, 2020 has the largest selection of brand-specific libraries and has an incredible selection of generic libraries, but you can enhance your drawing simply by going out to these untold numbers of shapes that are being used around the world. So you're no longer necessarily just working in the kitchen and bath. Maybe you're designing an entertainment center and adding accessories to it, or you're doing interior design in another room in the home. You can go get those shapes and add them to your 2020 drawing. The second way to do this, and let me go back into 2020, is by using the import feature. Under File, there's an option called Import. If I choose Import, Import will allow me to go somewhere on my hard drive, somewhere in my directories, and import a shape. Right now you're looking and you'll see that I have a list of shapes here. I have dogs, I have chairs, I have people, I have Coca-Cola baskets, I have office furniture and faucets, and even a Starbucks coffee cup here. These are shapes that I downloaded from Google and placed in a folder on my computer. And if I wanted to take any of these shapes from the Google 3D Warehouse and simply import them, or if you're working with AutoCAD, right here in the lower right-hand corner, you simply click on the arrow, and you would go down here and choose the 3D DWG or DXF file. That would show you all of your AutoCAD files. You can import them directly into your 2020 project. So let's take something. Let's say that we're going to take this chair, and we're going to open it. Now, this happens to be the same chair that I just showed you in the Google 3D Warehouse. So if I go back and look at this again, this is the chair that I've actually saved on my computer already. Now, if I go in here and I want to download this into 2020, first question it's going to ask me is, what units? What are the dimensions? What units are we using to dimension this chair? Well, that shape could be from another country. That shape could be in millimeters. That shape could be in centimeters. It could be in meters. It could be in feet. It could be in inches. You need to determine that. Now, you can always change the dimension of the shape once it's been placed, but I always like to look right here and just say, okay, width, height, depth. Looks like the height of this is going to be 42 inches. So that's probably in inches, so I'm going to leave it on inches. I'm going to click Continue. It's loaded it. Now it just wants to know where to place it. I'm going to click right there, and there's my chair. Once we place the chair, we have full capability to modify it. We can modify the height, we can modify the textures, and we would do so simply by double-clicking on the chair and opening up the attributes just like we would for any other item in 2020. You'll notice that my chair opened up just like the cabinet that you saw previously. There's my chair. I can change the dimensions of my chair. More importantly, though, I can actually change the textures. I can go to variables. I can go to texture, and I can say, all right, for the chair itself, for the seat, I'd like to place fabric there. I can open up the textures in 2020. You can also import your own textures, but I'm going to use our built-in textures today. We can click on Common, switch the catalog over, because right now we're just using whatever texture the person who originally created this chair used. When I click on the Common catalog, I'll go in and choose Fabric. I'm going to choose some of our Alpha Vision fabric, and you'll notice that I can click on different patterns in the list. Let's say that we choose checkers. I'm going to click OK. This updated my chair, and if I tilt it and zoomed in, look at the detail on that chair. Pretty cool. I can also change the wood. I can change this to be a cherry chair. I can click on the button. I can go back over here to my catalogs, go back to my common catalogs, and the common catalogs are built into 2020 as a standard. But as I mentioned before, you can always import your own JPEG images and overlay them if you wanted. So if you had a particular material you wanted or a wood species you wanted, all you need is a JPEG image of it, and you can import that and apply it too. We can go in here and choose wood. I can choose furniture. Gives me a list of all the different woods. I'll choose cherry. And in this case, I'm going to choose cherry honey. And when I click on it and click OK, watch the chair. You notice that the color of the chair has changed, but if I zoomed in, you actually see cherry graining and even pitting on that chair. Now, that chair is now a part of my 2020 drawing. Once you're happy with the view and your images, all you have to do is click the OK and return to your floor plan. You have successfully gone to a global warehouse, found the shape you needed to enhance the drawing, to create the image that you needed to sell that project, added it to your 2020 drawing. Think about the possibilities that that opens up to you to be able to work anywhere in the home. You're no longer limited to just what you have before you. You can actually reach out beyond you, bring those items in, and enhance your 2020 drawings, again, to close that sale. You also have the ability to save them. This takes us to our next section, which is building your own libraries. If you think about it, you now have the ability to import your own images, to modify their dimensions, including their textures, to save them and use them in a future project. Some people actually use the libraries to take it to the next level, and that is to save sections of kitchens. As an example of that would be an island. You have a client comes into you. Maybe I'm your client. I come into you and I tell you that I want to have a kitchen remodel, and I would love to have an island in this kitchen. Well, I'm not sure what type of island I want. I need to be inspired. And if you've already created 20, 30, 40, 50 islands over the last couple of years, you can actually quickly grab hold of any of those islands, drag and drop them into my kitchen so I can get an overall perspective or an idea of what would look good in my project. You're not necessarily going to use that same exact island, but it gives us a great starting point. It saves or speeds up the design process for you, and it helps inspire me as to what could be in my room. The way we would do that is on the left-hand side of your screen in the drag and drop menu, you will notice that there are catalogs. This is where you're choosing your cabinets, your appliances, and everything else. Well, you can actually create your own catalogs. In this example, you notice I have catalogs here called Google Shapes and John's Closet, and these are just some examples of shapes that I've actually saved on my own laptop and I reuse over and over again. If we go back to 2020 Live, let me show you how this would work. We'll go back over to our 2020. You'll see over here, this is your drag and drop area. This is where your catalogs are listed. If I clicked on the arrow next to catalogs and I scroll down on this computer, you'll notice that we have all the standard catalogs in 2020, plus you'd see all the brand-specific catalogs listed there as well. But there's a whole list of catalogs called John's Google 3D Shapes, AutoCAD Library, Decorations, Islands, Closet Systems, Entertainment Systems. I can drag and drop any shape into these and save them to be reused in the future. I can hold the left button down, and when I drag it over here, I'll be able to place it right in the menu, and you'll notice that there's an arrow as well as a box and a plus next to it. That means if I let go of my mouse, it'll actually load that chair into that menu for future use in future projects. Now, there's a process going on right now. This will actually take a couple of seconds because what's going to happen is this chair is not only going to be loaded in this menu, but it's going to need to set the chair up graphically to go in there, and it's going to need to ask us a few questions. So you notice that it zooms in on the chair. It actually puts it on a new piece of paper, a new section, and then we can go in and give it a name. I can call this Kitchen Chair 1 or whatever I wanted to call it. Whoops, I made an exclamation point instead of a 1. There we go, Kitchen Chair 1. We can highlight it, Control C, I can go up and give it a name. I'm just going to copy that into that same area. I can actually select a preview, so I can pick what type of preview I want to have of that chair. I can click Select on that preview, and when I'm done, I will click Save. And you'll notice that if I go back to my catalog in just a moment, you'll see that my kitchen chair is a part of that catalog. Next up is a feature that is really interesting, especially when it comes to communicating or selling to clients the way they expect to be communicated to today. Your clients are really busy, just like you. They often don't have time to come in for every face-to-face meeting you would like to have. You need to have complementary meetings that tie together or blend with your face-to-face meetings, and they allow you to keep the project cycle moving forward. An example of that is you start to work on a project with me, and maybe I live an hour from you, or maybe I'm out of town today, and you would like to be able to show me some updates and get me to sign off or give you approval to continue with the process. Well, instead of trying to set up a meeting with me tonight or Saturday or next Tuesday, you need to be able to get my approval right now to keep the project cycle moving forward. So what you can do in 2020 is use a feature called Room Viewer. Room Viewer allows you to take the project that you have in front of you right now, actually save it virtually, send me a link, and then I can sit and look anywhere I am in the world. I can look at that kitchen and I can rotate it. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. I can check out everything you've asked me to look at. I can email you back and say yes or no to it, and we know what the next step is. There's a second part of this that I think is really interesting. It's the ask for referral component of this. Many 2020 customers actually use this not so much for the just for the communication side, but they're really trying to use a soft sell when it comes for asking for referrals. Because the link that you send to that customer, that's a link that you can encourage them to share with their friends and family. So instead of asking a customer to give you 3 or 5 names at the end of the project as a referral, during the process, you can actually be sending them updates and encouraging them to send the links to their friends and family, showing the excitement that they have in the project and the great work that you and your company are doing. And the example I'm showing you on the screen right now, you'll see the email message. I actually put in there, I hope you like the updates. Please let me know if we can proceed to the next step. As always, please feel free to share this link with your friends and family. They will love your new kitchen from Greatest Kitchens of Maryland, and I have the address after it. It's a great way to get your name out there and asking for referrals. Now, the process, how this works is pretty simple. If we go back to 2020 Live, and I want to switch over to another plan for a moment. I'm going to go over to a plan right here and activate it. It's a smaller plan. It's actually another project I'm working on. It's a plan or a project in process. And I want to communicate to my client where we are in the plan and get their feedback. Well, at this point, I can actually go up to presentation. I can click on send to room viewer. And if you look right in the middle of the screen, you can actually watch it as it rebuilds this kitchen into a virtual file. This becomes a virtual plan that we then save on a cloud. You can save as many as you want on the cloud and then share these with your customers. If I'm your customer and I'm sitting at my desk right now and you just sent me the link, I can click on it and I can rotate my kitchen. I can rotate left and right. I can zoom in. I can answer your questions of where we are in the design process. I can actually tilt it up and down. I can change lighting. I did show you an image before where it actually showed the area where we filled in the verbiage for our client, including their email address. That's what the continue button would do. Renderings that close sales. This is really what everybody's interested in seeing. Well, in the new 2020 V10, you're no longer limited to just looking at pictures. The images on the screen are live. You can navigate around, meaning you can move right and left, zoom in and out. You can rotate. You can actually change items right in the plan. You can do that on your own, or I've seen many people actually sit with dual screens and have a client watching it live as they're working on their floor plan. Here we have our floor plan, and I've already gone in and opened up a perspective. And if you see this button right here, that's the one-click access to your perspectives. If I move to the bottom of the screen, you'll see that I have a perspective open. Now, one of the nice things about the new V10 is you can leave a perspective open while you have your floor plan on the screen. That way, it's constantly updating. You're not having to reopen over and over again. You'll also notice, if you watch right here, watch this line. See this line moving down? You notice the image is cleaner and clearer as the line moves down. When you're working in the renderings, because these are live action renderings, as soon as I start to move or I open up the rendering again, it automatically sets it at a default low resolution so that I have the ability to move around. And as soon as I leave the mouse set for a moment, I take my hand off the wheel or take my hand off the button, it'll actually stop and then it'll start to re-render. And every time you see that line make a pass, it makes the rendering a higher resolution over and over and over again. Really nice and quick and very effective in being able to meet and be able to demonstrate directly to your client. If I hold the left button down on my mouse, this gives me the ability to move around in the room. I can move right, I can move left, I can actually tilt down. We can look straight down at the floor if I wanted to. I can tilt up. I can move around the room in that fashion. I also have the ability to, let's go ahead and center this back where we were. I also have the ability to roll the wheel forward. And when I roll the wheel forward, the kitchen will actually move forward. So if I click on the wheel and move forward, it'll move forward. If I click on the wheel and move backwards, it'll move backwards. So you can see I can move in. I can tilt again down at the floor, look at the floor. I can move around in the room again. And I can stop the image wherever I want. So let's just say that we stop right here for a second. Now, again, watch it re-render from the very top. You'll see it cleans it up. It's basically making 3 passes. The first pass determines all the indirect lighting in 2020. The second pass will go through and do all of your direct lighting. And the third pass is what we call anti-aliasing. That's what goes back and cleans up all the lines. And if you tilt down here and look at the shadow of the sunlight coming into the room through the plant. So again, all you have to do is grab hold of the mouse and you can tilt it up and down, right and left, and whatever we need. And let me point to the floor for just a moment. Let's also talk about the bar down here at the bottom. In the navigation toolbar, there's several features that you'll find very effective in working with a client. First of all, you have the ability right here under textures to change your floors, to change your ceilings right in the plan. I can go in right now and say, I want to change my floor. I'm going to click on the button on my floor. I'd like to make my floor mahogany. Click on it. We're going to click OK. And I've gone from a bamboo floor to a mahogany floor. I can even move over to the next button, which is a light bulb. The light bulb allows you to change indirect lighting in the room, your ceiling light, or the sun. You actually have the ability in 2020 to control where the sun is in the sky. So if I told the system that I want the sun to be visible, I move my cursor down to where the sun is right here, and I can move it. Now watch the shadowing on the floor. It's actually changing the shadowing based on where the sun is in the room. So I can move the sun around. I can drop and let it go right there. And when I'm finished, if I click on the plan again, watch. It's going to re-render my image. It's going to clean the image up based on where the sun is, including shadowing my plant over here, showing the shadow on the floor. And as you watch, it'll go line by line and readjust this. You even have the ability in this area to click on, and let me turn this just a little bit. Let's go ahead and turn this up again a little bit. So let's look at the image from this angle. Let's drop back down again to our ghost bar. We'll click on the view mode quality. And when I click on this, you'll see that you can do hidden lines. We'll give it a second to show it in hidden line. We can do it in wireframe. We can do this in texture with edges. And think about how fast this is that we're making these changes, whatever type of view that you want to have. I'm going to go back to texture back to hidden line for a second. Hidden lines is a favorite when it comes to interacting with the customer, because when you're in hidden line, it doesn't have to worry about all those extra textures. You can actually move around the room rather quickly, adjust where you want to be. For instance, if I moved over here, I tilted my plan back and said I wanted to look at my images going back in this direction, let's say, and then I dropped back down here to the gear and I clicked on texture again. It's going to re-render from that perspective, placing all the textures into my room. Again, you have the ability to interact directly with your clients. I just showed you being able to quickly interact with the plans and being able to move right and left. You can, of course, as always, change the textures on the doors. You'll see lots of different textures, everything from the floor textures here. See the floor, we can determine whether it's a matte finish, a glossy finish. We can determine what scenes are outside of the window, how the sunlight shines through the window. But again, like the textures and the renderings that I started the images or started this presentation off with, I like to pay attention to those in each of these renderings. Little things like the TV controller sitting on the ottoman, or the reflections in the floor, or the pattern that you see on the pillow. Again, you're not limited to working in just kitchens and baths now. 2020 can be used throughout the home. Here's another great kitchen, kitchen example. Again, inset door, putting lights inside of the cabinets. You see the glasses in the picture here on the countertop. Here's a bath. Probably one of the most popular things we see 2020 being used for today are bath projects. In today's environment, we're seeing more and more of these smaller projects being created, whether they're closets or baths, and 2020 is being used to help close those sales and improve your business in those areas too. Here's some bedroom examples. Again, everything from wallpaper on the wall to textures on the throw on the bed to even details. Look at the detail that's applied to these boxes. See these boxes over here? These are just square boxes that my friend Christina placed, and then she simply overlaid a JPEG image to make it look like the trunk or such that we need here. You can even see the computer back here on the desk. Now, built into your standard 2020 V10 is a feature which is called Live Order. And what Live Order allows you to do is to take the items that are currently in this plan, your list of cabinets, to be able to manage that list, to be able to submit it as an order, and to be able to track it as an order as well. So you can instantly go out to what we call 2020.net. You can choose, each one of you will have an account for Live Order. When you choose Live Order, it'll bring up a dashboard. And what the dashboard allows you to do is literally within a minute and a half or 2 minutes, you'll be able to take a list of the items in 2020. You'll be able to click on Live Order and send that to your manufacturer. If your manufacturer accepts orders and they're key punching orders still today, they're still key punching their orders, you can certainly send it to them into their fax system or via email. If you have a manufacturer that's actually taking orders electronically and they connect directly to 2020, you can literally click a button here, send the orders right into their order processing system, and then be able to use the dashboard to track your order, your completions, and so forth straight down the line. These are some examples, again, of the different options we have for tracking those orders, to the point of being able to list all the orders we have in-house and being able to see the updates on the right-hand side. Live order is built into every 2020. Every 2020 user has the access to use this, whether it's simple emailing orders to a manufacturer or actually being able to communicate through an online ordering system, again, that is built into every 2020. The next thing I'd like to mention is learning. We get a lot of questions about, especially from brand new users, or how fast is it to learn 2020? Well, 2020 has something called 2020 University. It is on our website. Matter of fact, it's right in 2020.net. You can sit down 24 hours a day and you can learn how to use 2020. We've actually taken all of the major features in 2020 and created short video clips on each. So if I wanted to know how to, as my example shows on the screen, how to stack moldings, I can click on stack moldings, a little video will run, I can watch the video. Once I'm done with this, I can actually click on the kitchen and the catalogs. I can download exactly what was being used on the screen, recreate it myself and practice it. Or I can go to my own project and practice it as well. And if I need to go back and follow it again or watch it again, all I have to do is click play again and watch it again. Now that you've seen how easy it is to use 2020, I want to address the different audiences that we have participating today. Some of you are 2020 users today, and you're on maintenance and support. If you are, we will be sending you the V10 update in a package. You can go out to the door and see FedEx or UPS or somebody's dropped that off at your door. If you are anxious to start using it right now, you can actually go to the website and download it. So please feel free to download V10 right now if you're wanting to get started right away. For those of you who are 2020 users and you're not on support, this is the perfect time for you to get back on support. If you contact us, and I'll give you a contact number at the very end, you contact us, we can tell you what you need to do to get back on support, and you too can be using all the great new features in V10 to help close more sales in your business. For those of you that are viewing this and you're not 2020 users, you're interested in joining the 2020 family, let me give you a couple of other bits of information. I'll give you the contact information on how to get in touch with us so that you can join the 2020 family too. First thing I want to mention has to do with cost. I have a great article I'm bringing up on the screen right now. This was published June 15th. It's actually from Bob Vila, and you'll see in Remodeling Magazine. I actually found it online, and it talks about the cost of remodeling a kitchen right now. And from the Remodeling Magazine's 2011 to 2012 cost versus value report, they say that the average kitchen and bath today to remodel it is $20,000, just shy of $20,000. And if you look to the right under my notes, I ran a few quick numbers on this. And if you have a job at $20,000 and you're working at a 0.33 gross profit, it's actually a $6,600 profit. At 0.25, which is pretty low, that's $5,000. If we took half of that job, you're still looking at $3,300 in gross profit. Well, what's interesting about that is if you think about what the cost of 2020 is and the value it is to your business, all it takes is the ability to close one extra job this year, and your 2020 is paid for in full. And if you think about all of the features that I've shown you today about 2020 exceeding your business needs, we looked at 3D renderings that help you close sales, the feature-rich application, the fact that it's easy and intuitive to use, and best of all to you, it's easy to learn. You have unparalleled access to catalogs and 3D shapes, opening up a world where you can work in any room in the home today. And of course, the increased productivity using the features like live order. It's easy to see that 2020 V10 is going to help you be more effective, help you close more sales, and in the end, help you earn more money. I want to thank you for joining us again today. As you can see, the features in the new 2020 V10 are just phenomenal, and there's so many different ways that's going to help you improve your business, become more effective, more efficient, and most importantly, close sales. If you have further questions for us, or you're looking to add 2020 to your business to get the benefits of version 10, please contact us at 866-698-2020. Again, the phone number is 866-698-2020. We look forward to you using and adding 2020 to your business soon. Thank you.